Hello friends, welcome to MMS Max Medicine Simple. And friends, my name is TH Hajaria and I'm a final year medical student at UPSSD. So today in this lecture we will study one of the most important and high yield system of our body, that is endocrine system. Since the exam pattern is changed, so you can expect a good number of clinically applied questions in your exams. And those all questions will be based on understanding about the disease pattern. So to tackle all the clinically applied questions, first we must know about the physiology of endocrine system. So I tried to prepare the whole endocrine system in 5 small videos, and these all are very crisp, very concise and conceptual. So hope you will learn about endocrine system during these lectures. So friends, study with me and finish whole endocrine system in less than 2 hours. So first we will see about our master gland, the pituitary gland. So before we start with pituitary gland, let's discuss a little bit about the introduction of endocrine system. So our today's discussion will hang around the hero of endocrine system. Who is the hero of endocrine system, sir? The hero of endocrine system is our hormones. Our hormones are the hero of endocrine system. And when we talk about hormones, the next thing which comes in our mind is receptors. Because every hormone required one receptor to bring out its action. So we must know about hormone and their receptors. But our today's discussion is purely on gland-based endocrine system. Basically, endocrine system is the collection of glands, right? And that produces hormones, and those hormones regulate the functions. So what are those functions, sir? Those functions are regulation of metabolism, regulation of growth and development, regulation of tissue functions, regulations of sexual function and reproduction, and regulation of sleep and mood. So the major glands of endocrine system are hypothalamus, the leader, the head of endocrine system, pituitary, the master gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid, adrenals, pineal body, and reproductive organs are ovaries and testes. Apart from these major glands of endocrine system, don't forget about endocrine pancreas. This is also part of this system as it has a role in hormone production as well as in digestion. So now let's talk about pituitary gland in detail. So while talking about the endocrine glands, our first gland is our pituitary gland, also called the master gland. So why pituitary gland called the master gland? Due to certain reasons, obviously. So what are those reasons, sir? So because our pituitary gland, which regulates all the endocrine functions, and that's why called the master gland. But this master gland also required one head or one leader to regulate all these endocrine functions. So who is the leader or head of our pituitary gland, sir? So in Tamil we call one word thala. So in meaning, thala means a leader or one head in Tamil. So who is the thala of pituitary gland, sir? So the thala of pituitary gland is our hypothalamus. Our hypothalamus is the thala, is the head or leader of our pituitary gland, right, which helps pituitary gland to regulate all these endocrine functions. So this hypothalamus releases certain group of factors, and what are those factors, sir? So these factors can be either releasing factors or releasing hormones or inhibitory factors. So these releasing factors or inhibitory factors, they act on pituitary gland and allow to release the stimulating hormones, stimulating factors. Now these stimulating hormones or factors, they travel up to our endocrine glands. They reach to our endocrine glands, and in response, our endocrine glands produces and releases hormones, right? So this is our objective. Now very important, these hormones can travel back up to our pituitary gland and can inhibit its actions. Not only this, these hormones can also travel back up to our hypothalamus and can inhibit its actions. So this phenomenon of hormone release and then inhibition of functions of pituitary gland and hypothalamus by these hormones is classically known as negative feedback mechanism, right? So endocrine hormones and then inhibition of pituitary gland and hypothalamus functions by these hormones. This is the classical example of negative feedback mechanism. Very important. So our pituitary gland, also called the master gland, right, which required one head or one thala. So the thala of pituitary gland is our hypothalamus, which releases certain group of factors, either releasing factors or inhibitory factors. Then these factors act on pituitary gland, which releases the stimulating factors. Then these factors act on endocrine glands, and finally there is release or production of hormones. And then these hormones inhibit the function of our pituitary gland or our hypothalamus. And this phenomenon is known as classically negative feedback mechanism, very importantly. So with this important note, so functional point of view, our pituitary gland can be divided into two parts, anterior pituitary and the second one is posterior pituitary. Functional point of view, our pituitary gland can be divided into two parts. One is anterior pituitary and the second one is posterior pituitary. So now we will see anterior and posterior pituitary one by one. So first let's talk about anterior pituitary, sir. So how many hormones produced by anterior pituitary, sir? So the magic number is 6. 6 hormones are produced by anterior pituitary. So what are these hormones, sir? So the first hormone is which regulate our growth, the growth hormone, GH. The second hormone which regulate breast milk production are prolactin, PRL hormone. The third one which regulate our thyroid functions is thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH. The fourth hormone which acts on adrenals are ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. And the fifth one is our follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. And the sixth one is our luteinizing hormone, LH. Right? So the 6 hormones are our growth hormone, our prolactin hormone, our thyroid stimulating hormone and ACTH. Now very important, these two hormones, FSH and LH, they regulate our reproductive functions and collectively they are known as gonadotropins, right? So these are known as gonadotropins. Now, to produce all these 6 hormones, in anterior pituitary, we have only 2 cells. So what are those 2 cells, sir, which produce all these 6 hormones? So the first, which have high affinity to acidic chemicals or acidic groups, is known as acidophilic cells. The second, which have high affinity for the basic chemicals or basic groups, is known as basophilic cells. So to produce all these 6 hormones, we have 2 types of cells in anterior pituitary. The one is acidophilic and the second one is basophilic cells. Now, what hormones produced by acidophilic cells? So acidophilic cells produces the twin hormones. And what are those twin hormones, sir? These twin hormones are our growth hormone and our PRL, prolactin. So why they called twin hormones, sir? They called twin hormones because their pattern of functioning is more or less same. Even in pathologic condition, if there is increase in growth hormone, automatically there will be increase in PRL levels also. This is very important for examinations. Now basophilic cells. So basophilic cells produces the rest 4 enzymes, the TSH, or ACTH, or FSH and LH, the gonadotropins, right? So Anterior pituitary produces 6 hormones, FSH and LH, collectively known as gonadotropins, right? They regulate our reproductive functions. We have only 2 types of cells in anterior pituitary. One is acidophilic cells, the second one is basophilic cells. Acidophilic cells produces the twin hormones, and these hormones are our growth hormone and prolactin. Basophilic cells produces our TSH, our SCTH, FSH and LH. Now, very important, apart from these acidophilic and basophilic cells, our anterior pituitary also have certain cells known as corticotropes, right? So what is the function of these corticotropes? So these corticotrope cells, they produces certain precursors. And what are these precursors? These precursors are POMC, pro-opiomelanocortin. And these precursor POMC, they derive certain molecules. What molecules, sir? See here. First, propio. Propio means that derive endorphins. This is one example of endocrine opioid. So corticotropes derived the endocrine opioids endorphin. Now see next, melano. Melano means something related to melanocytes or melanin. So this will produce our MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormones. And the last one is cortin, right? Cortin means which produces ACTH. So 3 cells now, acidophilic cells, basophilic cells, and very importantly corticotropes, right? Which produces endorphins, MSH, right? And ACTH. Now very important to note, in certain conditions, when there is excess of ACTH, very important, then this ACTH, when there is excess of ACTH, this ACTH assumes the actions similar to our MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormones. Whenever there is excessive rise in the levels of ACTH, it behave and it acts like our melanocyte stimulating hormone MSH. So what are these conditions, sir? Where we can see these elevated, excessively elevated levels of ACTH? We can see these in Addison's disease. We can see the excess level of ACTH in Addison's disease. So when ACTH start to assume the functions like MSH, what is the function of MSH, sir? It stimulates our melanocytes, and the function of melanocyte to produce our pigment melanin. So when ACTH start to act like MSH, there will be overproduction of melanin, and then that will cause hyperpigmentation, and which is very important diagnostic point for hyperpigmentation. This is very important diagnostic point for Addison disease. So your examiner can give you one certain case or condition that patient comes and in the lab findings it is observed there is excess level of ACTH, and also in physical examinations it is seen that there is hyperpigmentation in the patient. So examiner can give you what causes this hyperpigmentation. So he might be give in options MSH also. So don't mark your answer MSH, because this hyperpigmentation is caused by excess levels of ACTH, right, which assumes the functions like MSH. So with this important note, so after anterior pituitary, now let's talk about posterior pituitary. So how many hormones are produced by posterior pituitary, sir? How many? 2. If your answer is 2, then you are in the same condition in which I was when I was a first year medical student. Why, sir? Because posterior pituitary does not produce any hormone. No hormones are produced by posterior pituitary. It only store and release the hormone oxytocin and vasopressin, also known as ADH, antidiuretic hormone. and these both the hormones are produced in hypothalamus. So posterior pituitary does not produce any hormone. It only store and release oxytocin and vasopressin ADH, and these both the hormones are produced in hypothalamus. Now very important, these hormones, they are stored in storage bodies in posterior pituitary, and the name of these storage bodies are very important, Herring bodies. Oxytocin and vasopressin, which is produced by hypothalamus and stored in posterior pituitary, where in storage bodies name Herring bodies. So how many MCQs? 4. 1. Does not produce any hormone. Second, only store and release oxytocin and vasopressin. Third, these hormones are produced in hypothalamus. And the fourth and the most important, these hormones are stored in storage bodies called Herring bodies. So with this important note, we will talk in detail about the twin hormones. So what are the twin hormones, sir? The twin hormones are growth hormone and are PRL, prolactin, which are produced by which cells? Are acidophilic cells. And act via which receptors are? The receptor, very famous, JAK-STAT, Janus kinase pathway. Since they act through same receptor, Janus kinase pathway, JAK-STAT, that's why their pattern of functioning is more or less same. That's why they're known as twin hormones, as we discussed earlier also. So now let's talk first about growth hormone or GH. So very important to note, the levels of growth hormone vary with age. The levels of growth hormone changes with age. So when you will see the maximum levels of growth hormone? In adolescent or in older age? So maximum levels of growth hormone, A for A. Maximum levels of growth hormone we will see in adolescents. Now when you will see the lowest levels, so now we can answer O for old age. So A for adolescent, O for old age. So maximum levels we will see in adolescent and lowest levels of growth hormone we will see in old age. So now see the very important aspect, the regulation of growth hormone. As we already discussed, the pituitary gland is the master gland. Hypothalamus is the leader or thala of pituitary gland. And we discussed also that it releases growth hormones, growth factors, right? So what are these growth hormones and releasing hormones, sir? These are GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormones. Also we discussed that it also releases growth hormone inhibiting hormones. And what are these growth hormone inhibiting hormones, sir? These are somatostatins. So when hypothalamus releases GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormones, they will stimulate the functions of pituitary gland, and that's why there is increase in growth hormone secretions. On the other hand, when the growth hormone inhibiting hormones like somatostatin, somatostatin is the universal inhibitor. Please take a note. Somatostatin is the universal inhibitor of everything. So when this will act on pituitary gland, there will be decrease in growth hormone secretions. So twin hormones produced by acidophilic cells act via the JAK-STAT, Janus kinase pathway. That's why called the twin hormones. Now growth hormone, the maximum level A for adolescent, lowest level O for old age. When we talk about the regulation of growth hormone, hypothalamus secretes growth hormone releasing hormones and growth hormone inhibiting hormones like somatostatin. So with this important note, so we will talk about the factors affecting growth hormone secretions. So we will talk about both the factors which increase in growth hormone secretion and also about the factors which decrease in growth hormone secretion. So first let's start with factors which increase the growth hormone secretion. So the most important, hypoglycemia, low levels of blood glucose. Please take a note. Hypoglycemia, low levels of blood glucose is the most important and major stimuli, major factor which increase growth hormone secretions. Second is fasting. Fasting means you didn't have anything whole day. You didn't eat anything. Means again your glucose level will go down. What is called that? Hypoglycemia. So again in fasting also the stimuli is hypoglycemia. The next one is starvation. You didn't eat anything since last 1 week. So you didn't eat anything in last 1 week. What will happen? Again your glucose levels will go down. So again the stimuli is hypoglycemia. Exercise. What is the major source of energy during exercise? Obviously glucose. Again hypoglycemia. Again the only stimuli. Stress. Also increased consumption of glucose. Hypoglycemia. So with this note, hypoglycemia is the major most important stimuli and factor to increase the growth hormone secretion. Now the last is sleep. Which stage of sleep, sir? NREM third and fourth stage. Non-rapid eye movement. Your eyeballs will not move. So during the sleep, NREM third and fourth stage also there is increased level of growth hormone secretions. Now let's talk about the factors which decrease in growth hormone secretions. So double S. The first one, as we already discussed, the universal inhibitor, somatostatin, and the second S is sleep, which is REM, rapid eye movement. Your eyeballs will move. So when we talk about the factors which increase in growth hormone secretions are your hypoglycemia, fasting, starvation, exercise, stress and sleep, the NREM third and fourth stage. And factors which decrease the growth hormone secretions are your somatostatin and your sleep, that is REM, the double S. With this important note, we will talk about the actions of growth hormone. So the actions of growth hormone can be divided into direct actions, which are mediated by the growth hormone itself, and the indirect actions which are mediated by something else other than the growth hormone. So first let's talk about the direct actions. So the direct actions of growth hormone are anti-insulin like actions. What is the actions of insulin? It increases glucose uptake, means hypoglycemia, lipogenesis. So the anti-insulin like actions means the direct actions of growth hormone are hyperglycemia, lipolysis. Now let's talk about the indirect actions. As we discussed that these indirect actions are mediated something other than the growth hormone. So the mediator for indirect actions are something called somatomedins. And these somatomedins, they are produced by our liver cells. So what is the action of these somatomedins? They have insulin-like action. Insulin-like action means hypoglycemia and lipogenesis, or in other words, anti-liposis. So the action of somatomedins is anti-liposis. Since they have action like insulin, that's why they also known as insulin-like growth factors, IGFs. So the direct actions of growth hormone are hyperglycemia and lipolysis. The indirect actions are anti-lipolysis. So now very important, please take a note. Growth hormones action on bone growth. This is very important. So on bones also, growth hormone have both direct and indirect actions. So the direct action of growth hormone on bone growth is the conversion of the prechondrocytes, which are the stem cells of our bone. So growth hormone converts the prechondrocytes to the mature chondrocytes. This is the direct action of growth hormone. Now let's talk about the indirect action. So the indirect actions is mediated by somatomedins, right? So somatomedins mediated bone growth is the indirect action. So with this important note, we will talk about the growth hormone disorders. So we can classify the growth hormone disorders into two categories. One is deficiency of growth hormone, dwarfism. The second one is excess of growth hormone. So when there is deficiency of growth hormone, since we are talking about pituitary, so this is pituitary dwarfism. So what we will do, sir? We will use something called GHRH analog, growth hormone releasing hormone analog. So what is that, sir? This is our sermorelin. So we will treat the pituitary dwarfism by using GHRH analog, that is sermorelin. Very important. Now the second category, excess of growth hormone. So you can find two conditions. One, gigantism, and second one is acromegaly. Where you will see this, sir? See here, A for adults, right? When you will see acromegaly in adults, where you will see gigantism in children. So with this you can memorize this. So whenever there is gigantism and acromegaly, mean excess of growth hormone, what we will do, sir? We will use something called somatostatin analog. Why? Because we know somatostatin, the universal inhibitor of growth hormone. So we will use somatostatin analog, something called as octreotide, sir, to treat gigantism and acromegaly. Now the most important, when there is the levels of growth hormone are normal, but the person looks like dwarf. What is that, sir? So in this condition, there is mutation of growth hormone. Though the levels of growth hormone are normal, but because of the mutation of growth hormone receptor, the individual is not able to use the growth hormone. That's why there is also decrease in plasma IGFs, insulin-like growth factors. And this specific condition is known as, with one very specific name, Laron's dwarfism. Very important. Laron's dwarfism, when there is normal levels of growth hormone, but due to mutation of growth hormone receptor, the person looks like dwarfism, and also there is decrease in plasma IGFs. So we use sermorelin for dwarfism and we use octreotide for gigantism and acromegaly. So with this important note, we will talk about our second twin hormone. And what is that, sir? That is our prolactin hormone, PRL. So as we already discussed, that prolactin is released from anterior pituitary and synthesized by the acidophilic cells in anterior pituitary. So now let's talk about the function of prolactin hormone. So the function of prolactin hormone is breast milk production. The sole function of prolactin hormone is breast milk production. So how to memorize? Because most of the times we are confused in oxytocin and prolactin. So production pro and prolactin pro, right? Both are same. So breast milk production, the hormone which is responsible is prolactin. Now very important, sir. Dopamines which are synthesized by hypothalamus are the inhibitors of prolactin. Keep this in mind. After this, we will talk about the factors which regulate prolactin secretions. So first we will talk about the factors which increase the prolactin secretions. So very important, sir. Pregnancy and lactation. Please keep this in mind. Pregnancy and lactation is the most important stimuli, most important factor which increase prolactin secretions. This can be asked in examinations. Now the second one is suckling of nipples. Now the third one is sexual intercourse, and the last is sleep, that is rapid eye movement or REM. So how we can memorize the factors which increase the prolactin secretions? Hope you all remember the home video game PS3, PlayStation 3. So the mnemonic for factors which increase the prolactin secretions are PlayStation 3, PS3, pregnancy and lactation, suckling of nipples, sexual intercourse, and sleep, that is rapid eye movement. Now let's talk about the factors which decrease the prolactin secretion. So the first one is our dopamine, as we already discussed, right? The second one is L-DOPA. And the fourth one is bromocriptine, which is none other than our dopamine agonist. So these are the factors which increase the prolactin secretion, and here the dopamine and the L-dopa and bromocriptine, which is dopamine agonist, these are the factors which decrease the prolactin secretions. With this important note, we will talk about the functions of prolactin. So as we already discussed that the most important function of prolactin is our breast milk production, pro for pro. Now the very important, the second function of prolactin is negative regulation of reproductive functions. How, sir? So see here, whenever there is prolactin, this will inhibit your GnRH, your gonadotropin releasing hormone. And when prolactin will inhibit GnRH, indirectly it will inhibit your reproductive functions, right? So in conditions like pregnancy and lactation, as we already discussed, these are the most important factor which increase prolactin secretions, right? So whenever there is pregnancy and lactation, there will be elevated prolactin, there is secretion of prolactin that will inhibit your GnRH, or indirectly that will inhibit your reproductive functions. That's why in females with pregnancy and lactation, there will be inhibition of reproductive functions. That's why this specific condition known as lactational amenorrhea. Due to lactation, there is prolactin, that's why there is inhibition of GnRH and reproductive functions, that's why there is amenorrhea. So lactational amenorrhea, this is the natural contraception. So this is the contraceptive function of prolactin. So with this important note, I will request you all, please do subscribe the channel and give your important feedback in the comment section. Hope you will learn something from this lecture. Stay safe. Thank you so much. Have a great day.